So does it make sense to make additional principal payments on your mortgage if you don't plan on staying in the house long term? Okay, that is a fantastic question. Do you actually, make more money when you sell the house because you've paid down additional principal? Again, that's another fantastic question, and we're going to tackle them both in today's training. Today's video is brought to you by Kartra. Kartra offers everything you need to run your online business all in one place. To learn more about Kartra and what it can do for your business, make sure to click the link in the description. Hey everyone, it's Mike Adams, and on this channel we empower individuals to achieve freedom through improved financial literacy and business ownership. If you are new to the channel, make sure to click subscribe and click that bell so that way you get notified on any and all of our future content. So in today's video, we are going to be answering the question, does it make sense to make additional principal payments on your mortgage if you don't plan on staying in the property long term? And that is a fantastic question that came in from one of our subscribers. We'll put it up on the screen here. And thank you for that question. It's a very good thing to bring up. And so the answer, right? The answer isn't as cut and dry though, because it really depends on, more factors. It really depends on more things than just the fact that you might be moving. Now, does it make sense to send an additional principal? Like, let's say you bought this property yesterday, but your plan is to only stay in this property for, let's say, 3 years, or let's say 5 years, kind of in that window. I guess most people probably plan for 3 to 5 years that they're going to stay in the property. Does it make sense to kind of knock down that principal balance? And depending on your goals, depending on, the other things that you might be doing with your capital, the answer is yes, and it might be no. Okay, so if you're somebody that isn't necessarily out there, putting capital into other investments, like let's say you're not out there, flipping houses or doing, stock investing or other things where you're just kind of parking capital in different places. If you don't have a place to park your capital, okay, or you're just somebody that's not really focused on that. Maybe you're just in a spot where you're just like, look, I want to lower my debt loads at all times. That's my goal, and that's what I want to focus on. So if that's the case, does it make sense to make some additional principal payments at the beginning of a loan, even if you don't plan on staying there for the long haul? Absolutely, it can make sense, because you're going to be saving a huge amount of interest over the life of that loan, no matter how long you're going to stay in there. What we know is at the beginning of a loan, the majority of your payments are going straight to interest to the bank. So if you were to, let's say, make a large, principal pay down, what you're doing is you are lowering the principal balance on that loan. And so every month afterward, when you make that next payment, more of your payment's going to be going to knock down principal, and slightly less of it will be going pure interest to the bank. Now, over the course of 3 to 5 years, again, which is kind of that average, short-term time frame that somebody's going to use if they're buying a property, usually 3 to 5 years. And so how much additional principal could you apply? How low could you bring that loan before you plan on selling? Depending on the strategy that you're going to use, again, if you're going to apply additional principal, it can be significant. If you're going to use a strategy like velocity banking, it can be very significant how much you can reduce that principal balance. Now, will that benefit you when you sell the property? And the answer is yes. Okay, because you keep in mind, when you are paying down that mortgage balance, what you're doing simultaneously is you are creating additional equity in that property. And so when you, and again, just to define equity, the value of the house, 200,000, your mortgage, let's say 100,000, you have 50% equity in that scenario. And when you sell your property, another way to look at the equity is that's really going to be you make when you sell the house. So let's say you had a $300,000 mortgage at 3.5%. If you were just to make the minimum monthly payment on that mortgage, you're going to knock down the principal balance of that loan, but you're only going to knock it down by about $30,000. It shows here that you'll knock down the balance to about $269,000. And so, over 5 years, hey, you've knocked it down by only just over 30 grand. And at the same point, you've paid almost $50,000, 49.9 in interest. So more of your money went to interest versus the principal. And again, if you were going to then sell the property for, let's say, 350,000, so you're gonna, get a little bump there. Values went up to 350, and now you're gonna sell. There's your equity. You're at roughly 270. You could sell it for 350, and so sure, there's about 80 grand there, minus fees and things like that for selling. But certainly, that would kind of be what you would make then on the property. Now, let's say you had, an additional monthly cash flow number of $2,000, and you were applying that directly to the principal during this same, that would actually bring your loan balance all the way down to $138,000. So you took a $300,000 property and brought it all the way down, as far as the mortgage, you brought it all the way down to $138,000. So if you were then to say, okay, now I'm going to sell this property, and again, you're going to get that same $350,000, instead of making roughly $80,000 before fees, now you're talking about more like $210,000. So, that's a big jump. And so again, if you're not doing anything different with your money, again, if you don't have any specific investments on the rise and you want to, again, we don't look at our primary residence as necessarily an investment per se. The bottom line is there's assets and there's liabilities. I mean, you can certainly look at it as an investment, but we don't look at it as necessarily an asset because your primary residence is a liability. You're the one that's paying for that particular mortgage, whether it's your job, your business, or whatever the case may be. You're the one paying for it. So it's definitely a liability. But if you're viewing it as kind of an investment, how can I make the most money off of this residence while I'm living here? Paying down that mortgage balance, again, anticipating appreciation or growth in the value of the property, paying down that mortgage balance, number one, it's going to save you a boatload of money in interest. For example, by making that extra $2,000 payment every single month over the course of 5 years, you've actually only paid $38,000, $38,900 worth of interest. So you pay less interest to the bank during that same time frame because you made additional payments on the mortgage. So you're able to save money needlessly going to the bank in interest, but as well you're able to drastically increase your equity position in the property when it's time for you to sell, allowing you to have more cash on hand to either A, invest in something different, or B, use as a down payment for your next property. Now, but again, there is of course what's called a lost opportunity cost. And so if you were taking this $2,000 and putting it into a different type of investment, maybe if you're putting it into an index fund, if you're into the stock market, whereas maybe you're flipping houses or you are purchasing rental properties which produce additional cash flow. Again, if that's your scenario, then it may make sense to kind of hold that $2,000, make the minimum payments on your mortgage, and then take that extra and invest it into something else, okay? But if you don't have something on deck or ready to go that you may want to invest in, or maybe that's just not in your wiring yet to invest it into things that you're unclear about, then paying down the mortgage may make sense to you if you're viewing this property as an investment in itself. So definitely curious to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think it makes sense to use your additional cash flow to pay down a mortgage, even if you don't plan on staying in that house for the long term? Or should you be investing that money elsewhere? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And hopefully you guys got value in this training and in this discussion. If you did, make sure to give this video a like and give it a comment below. And guys, keep those questions coming. I love creating content just like this to answer your guys' specific questions about any of the things that you learn about or any of the strategies that we discuss here on this channel. Again, get those questions into the comments and we might just make a video just like this to answer your specific question. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.